So, if you've been following my what I read big posts, you might be a little confused by today. I'm switching the order. I'm here to talk about The Bootleggers Bounty. I was really fortunate to get a copy of this book early from Adriana Herrera and her team. I read A Caribbean Heiress in Paris just a few weeks ago, and when I saw the opportunity, I jumped on it. So, who okay, A Caribbean Heiress in Paris had a lot more plot. It was a much longer story, it was a much longer book. This was a pretty fast read, but the spice in this book, I already liked how she wrote spice in A Caribbean Heiress in Paris. I thought it was a really well done bit of spice writing, and there is so much more of it here. It's a little more smutty, in my opinion, but we've got a character who is technically historical. It's in the 1920s, it's during Prohibition. So she's not as regulated. I mean, she is probably regulated, but we're not dealing with a corset and I need to be married beforehand. We're talking about a woman who runs away to be a jazz singer. Yeah, that's the plot. Rosalia runs away from her crazy brother to be a jazz singer in New York and stows away on this boat that gets boarded and raided by Cam and Enzo and a bunch of other people. But Cam and Enzo are the dudes in this polyamorous trio. And basically how they become a throuple. More or less, there's plot, there's some danger, there's some bootlegging that goes along rum, and there is a nice callback. I'm pretty like to Cava Brava, but it was really so spicy. And it comes out today. It comes out today. Today is the day where you can get this book. So that is why I am switching my order around. So you know that this book out today is just such a really fun read. She writes characters that are multidimensional in their existence. Y'all know I'm always going to be here for a little MMF action. So if you're looking for an MMF book with some really well written spice, The Bootlegger's Bounty. Well, I keep crossing them off my list now. Another author from my TBR. This is Kat Singleton with Black Ties and White Lies. This is a book that I'd seen very heavily advertised to me, and I had ignored it until I realized that Kat Singleton was on my authors list for the conference I'm going to next year. So I guess the advertising worked. You knew me well. This book is a billionaire office fake dating brother's ex situation. It's also morally gray. It's not quite Liars Like Us morally gray, but it does cross into not above board. Now we've got Margot and Beck are FMC and MMC, and Beck basically just shows up and tells Margot, hey, I bought your company. I'm going to make you my assistant, and then we're going to fake fiance because my image is trash and I need someone to fix it, and I want it to be someone I trust. That's where the morally gray comes in. So she agrees. She doesn't really have a choice, but she agrees anyway. They have this chemistry from before when she was dating his brother. And the thing about the chemistry is there are so many fake dating office-y books where it feels like it takes a week until someone trips and falls on a penis. And that is not the case here. Margot really does set a boundary and hold to it. And because of that, we get character building, we get relationship building. So by the time we actually see them get together in a snowstorm where they sought shelter at an inn that only had one room left, the honeymoon suite with one bed. Couldn't keep a straight face. But once I got to that situation and the tension, poked a hole in that tension, I was ready for that release, and I feel like they'd earned it, not just because I waited pages for it, but also because I felt they were ready to take that next step together. There's a lot of fun banter, a lot of appreciation about each other's bodies. It they had quite a time in that room, y'all. Quite a time in that room. And that was really enjoyable to watch and to see and to like root for them as an actual couple as opposed to just two schemers. Something else that I appreciated, and this is where I get personal, y'all. I don't like it when an FMC gets the nickname baby. I'll tolerate babe, but I don't like baby. That's a me thing. That's not an author shouldn't do that. That's a personal preference. So she already has this nickname from Beck, Violet, because she used to have violet hair, which is adorable. And then he starts calling her baby after they get together. And I appreciated this one little nugget because it made me okay with it. In her brain, she goes, if any other man had ever called me baby, I would have hit them upside the head. But from Beck, it might be my favorite thing in the whole world. And that to me also showed how different Beck was for her, how he was the exception to the rules and the evolution of her relationships into this new glorious thing. Now, does this book revolutionize billionaire brother's ex best friend, morally gray, fake dating, workplace ish, one bed tropey stuff? No, it doesn't. But it's an enjoyable read if those are the things that you're looking for. So if that list is what you want in your next read, have at it. You won't be disappointed. The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I am going to just put it out there first and foremost that I preferred Love in Other Words. And I can see why. This is one of, if not their first adult romance novel. And because I can see how far they evolve in their storytelling, I did not enjoy this read as much. It's like with Allie Hazelwood, I read Love on the Brain before Love Hypothesis. And so going back to that one, I could see where she'd grown as a writer. And I didn't want to go backwards. I wanted to go forwards. So that might mean I read True Love Experiment, but the Unhoneymooners for me, not my favorite. If you've never read Christina Lauren, start with this. This I think is very typical. It has a lot of the foundations of what they do as a writing duo. Just having experienced that, more polished, better storytelling that comes later, this I felt a little let down. It is sister's brother-in-law hidden like I'm gonna call it hijinks and kind of enemies to lovers. But in terms of enemies to lovers, that gets resolved real fast. So there were a lot of light things that got resolved very quickly, which in some cases was nice, and in some cases I was like, do I really call this enemies to lovers if it takes one honest conversation between the two of you to fix the misunderstanding you had 3 years ago? I don't know if I do, but that's a trope that this is called, so I'm gonna go with that. Christina Lauren also is like little to no spice. They have intimate relations, but it's almost closed door. They talk about the foreplay, they mention how good it is, but it's not really well described. Same in Love in Other Words. I think that's just their thing, which is fine. So if you're also looking for spice, you're not going to find it here. What you will find is some really fun banter. Their banter is great. They enjoy razzing each other. They enjoy getting to know each other, building a different type of relationship. We've got our FMC Olive and our MMC Ethan. And the drama of this book is not them and their relationship, but actually Olive's twin sister and Ethan's brother and their relationship and how it affects them. So it's kind of outside, but kind of inside, and the outside drama affects how they communicate with each other. It's very light, it's very fluffy, and Olive has a beautiful, like, big, boisterous, fun Mexican family. If you're looking for stories with a Mexican MC or LI, whatever you're calling it, this has that for you. She is part of this beautifully big, boisterous, very involved with each other family. There are a lot of great elements in the story. It didn't feel as polished as Love and Other Words. And you know what? Of course it doesn't. It's their first foray into it. So if you're looking to start from the beginning or delve into the backlog or back catalog of Christina Lauren, yeah, start here. This is a solid start. And then when you get to Love and Other Words, let me know, because that one like ripped my heart out. This one was a hard one to cross off the list. This was Amo Jones, another author who I theoretically get to meet next month, or can meet, might want to meet, not want to meet. I might be afraid. I might be afraid now. I read Sicko, and I have been choosing books for these conference authors, either their most popular or the ones with the most reviews that I'm seeing, and this is one of them. Now, the author's note does state that this is at the time her darkest dark, and I will say that even though this book does not cross my personal dark romance line of does a love interest kidnap another love interest, the circumstances of this book are incredibly dark, and I wish I'd gotten more warning about it, because there are lots of different types of dark romance, and this had a lot of disturbing stuff in it. It's dark, it's taboo, there's abuse, there's motorcycle gangs, there's murder, there's torture, there's force. That's the term I'm going to go with right now, so nobody gets mad at me. And it is a fucked up situation. Regardless of the situation, Jade and Royce, the FMC and MMC, feel very Wuthering Heights to me. This is a love that will destroy them. And I don't feel like anything that happened in the book proved me wrong. Do they love each other? Is there a history? It's taboo. They're foster brother and sister. Foster, not blood related. Foster. It didn't feel like it developed into a worthwhile romantic relationship. If you're in a dark situation but your relationship is strong, you as a couple are really showing me that you're being a couple. I can get behind the terribly dark circumstances, but I felt like almost as soon like within a year of this book ending, they were going to fall apart. I didn't believe that this was going to last. And so getting to the end of that book, well, there was a lot of catharsis because they vanquished the bad guys, and there were bad guys. There were bad guys. I didn't root for them as a couple. All right. Is there a book of hers that I should have started with? Dark romance readers. Amo Jones. I read this one. Should I have started lighter? If so, let me know, because this one was so dark I don't even know if it was written well, because my eyes were just almost like Clockwork Orange style. What am I going to be reading next? And I I can't I honestly I can't judge the writing. It was just that dark. Let's keep them coming. I read Freight Train by Sapphire Knight, and this is a book that is an exception to my rule or my plan of most popular or more of most popular or most reviews. I think I bought this on a Stuff Your Kindle day, so I read it. And if there's a better book or a book that you prefer that maybe you think I would jive with more, let me know. It's fine. The book is a college football romance, and weird. It's so weird in so many ways. So Tyler is the MMC, and there's a lot of dirty talk, blah blah blah. But when it comes to the actual, it's just sweet, and I wasn't expecting sweet with the locker room talk we kind of started with. And Cadence spends a good portion of this book slut shaming her own desires, other people at this college who throw themselves at football players, and that rubs me the wrong way. He falls first, totally obsessed, woos her, and they do turn into a perfectly lovely couple, but also they're senior. I think she might even be a junior. They're in college, and after a month, he's ready to propose. He doesn't. He doesn't, and I respect that too. There are moments about this book that I really respect and I really like, and I found them, they kept me going. But y'all, it's been a couple weeks. At one point, they say something like, "Yeah, we've been together 2 weeks." Yeah, it's a little intense. Can we back it up? And maybe I'm just too far removed from college, but is that what it's like in college? You meet someone and you're dating them for 2 weeks and you think, yeah, we're done, we're married. Because I don't remember that with any of my college partners. I don't remember getting that intense that quickly. I was a child. My brain hadn't formed. Tyler's home life, I think, is really what makes the story for me. Actually, both of their home lives are kind of what make this story unique for me. Tyler is part of a trio of brothers. He lost his parents when he was, I think, a freshman in high school. And his two brothers in that dynamic, their farm, their relationships, their history together, made for a really lovely journey with that family. Cadence, her dad was an NFL star, and also Sapphire Night is clearly a Patriots fan. Cadence's dad was a Patriot, and then he left all of that to join a motorcycle gang. I that I is neither here nor there. There was no tension. There was no struggle in this story. And it made it for a really easy read, but if you're looking for a plot that you can get invested in, I didn't find the stakes to be high enough, or the depth of the feelings that we got with these humans to be worthwhile. I'm very curious actually about Clyde, the older brother, Tyler's older brother. I want to watch him and the tax lady go at it. So maybe a different story would be better for me, or maybe I shouldn't have read college. Maybe I shouldn't have read a college story. Maybe I just prefer adults, y'all. I think I'm getting old. Oh. I have taken this train as far as I'm willing to go. I'm not soft DNFing this series. I am hard DNFing this series unless proven otherwise. And I am very happy with my stopping point of Ignite Me by Tahereh Mafi. If you've been watching my progression through this series, by this point, we're on book 3, but it's really 5 because there are novellas between 1 and 2 and 2 and 3. So I am 5 story things in 5 rentals from my library. And I think I'm just done. They're so 17. She's 17. And as powerful as she is, I don't want to watch a 17-year-old feel like she can take over the world and run a country or run the universe. I don't want to know what happens next. I I still don't love Warner. I don't. Aaron, I get that she feels powerful and he believes in her. They do get it on, but it's zero spice, nothing. It's not even metaphor. It's implied that they have intercourse. It's just nothing stated hard enough for me to say they didn't just make out all night. I mean, kind of. But the love triangle ended, which I think is the only redeeming part for me in this book. Is okay, great. Adam got it through his head that he is not being chosen. It is Warner. Don't really know why. Whatever. And that's it. Everybody just puts their faith in a 17-year-old girl to save the world. And I guess she does, but she really doesn't understand what's going to come next. And I don't think I have the patience to watch it happen. So if you have read these books and you think I am mistaken, let me know why. Because after book 1, it's really been a struggle. I liked book 1. I enjoyed book 1. But ever since then, it's become less and less enjoyable for me to read. I am so mad about how I feel about this next book. Here's why. It is Lords of Darkness by Amanda Richardson. She is on my list. for this conference. I'm so mad. Here's spoiler, because she left it on a cliffhanger that has me wanting to read the next book. And until the last scene-ish thing, I was fully prepared to just stop and be satisfied with reading the first book and only the first book. Here's why. It's a secret society. It says dark reverse harem, and I think it builds to actual reverse harem along the books in the series. So I wouldn't actually call it reverse harem yet. It's implied that it could develop, but it doesn't. There's a secret society. They're called the Lords of Darkness. Oh my goodness. Shocking. They're English nobility that's been around since 1066, and I only say that because nerd. But they're the underbelly of the world. Here's what annoyed me about the Lords of Darkness, the society. If it was so powerful, why did we get such a small taste of what they do? If they're so powerful, I wanted to see what it is that they're involved in and how they really affect important change in the world. And this book was really focused on these four guys bringing in Harlow. I guess I have to back up. The Lords of Darkness, 5 families, 5 lords. Turns out one of them died. I'm not going to tell you why. It's not important. It's really not important. And the other 4, Alaric, Gideon, Sterling, Theo, have to take his heir, who they thought was his 2-year-old son, and it turns out is an 18-year-old daughter, and make her the next lady. Because you can be a lady, not just a lord. So, feminism. But she doesn't want to be. She's an artist. She has no idea what this was. She wants to go be an art student in New York and not live in a weird town in London and do bad things. It's different than the lords in the ritual, where you know what you're getting into. You grow up in this society. It's not a surprise. This seems to be a surprise for every person once they're called into service. And that is a really hard transition to watch Harlow go through. I don't really feel that much sympathy for the guys, even though we're told to, because I'm watching Harlow go through this. And I didn't care because I didn't know enough about the society. It wasn't like I could feel this. It's a small society. They only work with each other. It felt less significant than they were making it out to be. There's also a lot of back trauma in Harlow's life, and I feel like it was a plot device and not it could have been something else. I'm glad that it didn't happen on the page, so it is off page. And I was fully ready for Harlow to escape or murder them and be done with it. But we're watching her kind of Stockholm syndrome into liking these dudes. I don't think they're particularly special. They also all kind of claim a sexual thing over her. And, well, that's weird because that's clearly not a regular Lord's thing if this is the first lady in 100 years. And it felt like that whole society wasn't as fleshed out as I wanted it to be. And so I was ready to DNF this until the arsenic brownies. And now I need to know what happens next. And I'm annoyed at that.